Welcome to the Vernon Hills Update. The update offers information about a variety of village services. You'll meet a few of your neighbors and you'll find out about upcoming events. On today's show, we'll get a report on some of the development projects going on around town from the village's Assistant Village Manager, Joe Carey. We'll learn more about the importance of fire sprinkler systems thanks to an educational seminar recently provided by the Countryside Fire Protection District. We'll brush up on a few Halloween safety reminders to ensure that we all have an enjoyable trick-or-treat time. And we'll check out some of the sights and sounds from Vernon Hills Oktoberfest, held Saturday, September 24th at the Metro Station. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.
We are at the Village Hall, and we're here to talk development with Joe Carey, who's our Assistant Village Manager, and he's also our Director of Development. Thanks for taking the time, Joe. And I know development is a moving target because it depends on when we're talking, but right now we're talking at the end of September, so if some of these facts change up, you've got a lot of projects going on. Let's talk a little bit before we start about the projects. There is a development process. There are a couple of groups that are involved. Can you go through just generally the few steps that are involved when you want to do a new project here in town?
Sure. So for new developments, and when I say new developments, I'm referring to any major redevelopment of a existing retail shopping center or any construction on vacant land that's not within the residential zone property. We'll go through a series of steps that will involve not only the village but also Lake County Public Works, the represented fire district, as well as sometimes getting the school districts involved as well as we review the development to ensure compliance with the village's zoning codes, requirements, as well as any type of other feature that the development may have that makes it unique to the village.
Okay, so that's why there is kind of a timeline on a lot of these bigger projects, just because you've got all those parties that have to be involved and review everything, including we've got like planning and zoning, and you've got the Board of Trustees just here in-house too.
That's correct. Our Planning and Zoning Commission reviews and approves, makes recommendations for approval towards any development that should come forward for the village. Then it goes to the village board for adoption.
Okay. So those are the kind of steps we're talking about, which is why sometimes things change as we're talking. That's why we made that caveat about when we're taping and when you might be watching this. So let's look at one of the bigger projects that's coming up. We're talking about Melody Farms, which is at that northeast corner of 60 in Milwaukee. That was some Cuneo property, and that has been in play for decades, but it was one of the most highly sought after, most expensive properties, and now you've come quite a ways on the process for putting something in there. Can we talk about Melody Farms?
Absolutely, and you're right. This has been a long journey so far. We've worked very closely with the developers, both Regency Center and Focus Development, on the 53-acre piece of property known currently as Melody Farm. The property is proposed to be 274,000 square feet of retail, as well as 260 multifamily executive-style apartments. The property will be anchored by a Whole Foods, and while we aren't aware of any other leases currently being signed by the developer, we are aware that they are looking for it to be a best-in-class shopping center that will complement the existing retail shopping that's already available within the village.
Okay, and when we're talking about a timeline for this whole project, because it looks like I looked at the plans, and right now the retail is kind of closer to the corner, and the housing is kind of a little bit to the north, kind of in a courtyard system with a lot of green space. So how soon are we going to see some places to shop? I mean, that's still a ways out.
It's probably not looking to 2019. It's definitely is a process to go forward. There's significant improvements that will have to be made on the property, but not just the property, but also the adjacent roadways.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the roadways, because we do have, just down in front of 60 and all the way up and down Milwaukee, that's a lot of stoplights, it's a lot of turn lanes, it's a lot of traffic to get moving. What kind of improvements are we starting to look at so that we can not make this, a bigger bottleneck right there?
I completely agree. I mean, the concern we've heard time and time again from both residences and businesses is that traffic at the corner of Milwaukee Avenue and Town Line is difficult, to say the very least. And so that's something that we take very seriously. And the village, as long as with our consulting team, have worked closely with IDOT to ensure that significant road improvements will be made as part of this development to help mitigate the traffic and the not just the existing traffic, but the future traffic that we anticipate from this development.
Okay, so when you say IDOT, so does that mean IDOT has their own processes that take a long time, but would it be safe to say that when the project is ready to open for business, IDOT would have their ducks in a row too, so the roadways will be improved at the same time?
That's correct. That will be a priority of the village to ensure that not only is IDOT on board with every improvement being made, but that it will be done in consult with the development itself.
So are we talking like more turn lanes, more lights, better timed lights, more technology that way?
Hopefully a little bit of everything. There will certainly be additional lanes. There'll be a third northbound lane going from the intersection of Town Line going north to Milwaukee Avenue. Those intersections at the corner of the Denny's and the Ring Road will all be turned into full intersections, which means that there'll be traffic that will be allowed to traverse to the east from the mall site. They wouldn't be able to drive across the street from there, but from the proposed development, but they would be able to drive into the development.
Okay.
They're also looking at about a 300-foot designated right turn lane from northbound Milwaukee Avenue to eastbound Town Line Road. And as part of that, as it relates to Town Line Road, they are proposing an additional lane going eastbound on Town Line from the mall entrance at the intersection of Hawthorne Hill Square, as going east and ending at the bridge, just entering into Matawa.
Okay, so like kind of taking us out of town, we'll start
Yeah.
to open up the bottleneck that way.
Correct.
Okay, and I know a lot of people have talked about how you can't, I know this is an IDOT thing, but you said technology is in play, and I know they have different ways to time lights and check everything like that, so you don't stop at every red light every 2 blocks. Is that something that you've heard? Are they going to add that into the mix here?
I know they certainly plan to signalize and make sure that any improvements that are needed will be done. As part of that, one thing that I left out was they will be doing dual left turn lanes in all directions at Milwaukee and Town Line.
Okay.
As part of that, I'm sure they'll be working on the timing.
Yeah, I was going to say that having more ability to turn left and get the cars moving is good. So we're talking a huge development. You guys are still working on the details, and my understanding is it's going to face inside, so we'll see like kind of I assume Whole Foods will be sort of at the corner, but it'll be kind of the new landmark for the whole town. So I know I've watched some of the board meetings, very concerned about making it look good, so and I assume that's going to happen all the way through.
That's correct. I mean, that's the main point, is that we want to make sure that it's a quality development for the village. And not only that, but it's also development that the whole community can enjoy and appreciate.
Well, interesting. Well, we'll come back and talk some more, especially when it comes to traffic and things are coming back. We know we'll be talking about this for years to come because it is going to take a little bit of time. Another thing, since we're talking about Cuneo, let's go up the road a little bit because Loyola took over. The Cuneo family gave Loyola the Cuneo mansion, and I know that Loyola had been looking to sell off pieces of the ground because it cost them a lot to take care of. And that project, though, that we talked about between the Lowe's and the mansion, is that still going on?
It is. We actually have a public hearing scheduled currently for October the 19th, which is a Wednesday at 7:30. And I'm not sure if their viewers will be available to attend, but certainly public notices have been sent out for that. And it's for a single-family home development of 128 homes on the northern side of the Cuneo property, as we call it. And right now, we're currently going through the review process. We've also met with the adjacent HOAs to make sure that they understand what is going on and make sure that we're listening to their concerns. And certainly they have concerns as it relates to access off of Museum Boulevard and any additional impacts that they may have experiencing new neighbors, not just the residents, but also the Loyola University campus.
Well, and traffic seems to be the theme that goes on around here, too. And when we talk about those homes, you said single-family homes. Do you have a price range for those so we can understand? Are they low, high? Where are we at on them?
We've been advised that the homes will be approximately 600,000.
Okay. So they're on the higher end then. So okay, excellent. That's interesting to know. So now let's stay in that neighborhood there, and let's talk about Menards. I mean, we've talked about it, and there might not be anything you've got that you can say because I know there's been litigation. There's all these things. So do we have any updates on where that is, or is that all in the Menards and the court system's hands? Because right now the ground has been improved and everything stopped.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is still going through litigation, and so there's not a whole lot of news to share. One of the good news is, though, is that some of the outlots on that property have gotten an uptick in interest from other developers. Most recently, a Chase Bank was expressed interest in relocating to the village and setting up shop on the northern outlot adjacent to Milwaukee Avenue.
Okay, so closer to the road then, as far as back where we assumed at some point Menards may or may not go in, so.
Correct.
Okay, so that's where we're at on that. Before we go down the street, let's talk to remind everybody what's going on at the mall. You've had some improvements. You've got the Claim Company. You've got Uncle Julio's opening up in the front. A lot of things like that. I know last time we talked, it isn't Westfield anymore. It had changed hands, but everything looks to be kind of on a resurgence there. Is that how you're feeling about it?
Yeah, I think ever since, I think we're slowly kind of recovering from the recession. The improvements that we've made to the mall have certainly done a great deal, impacting and increasing the traffic that goes in and out of the mall. You mentioned a number of tenants related to that area, and Maggiano's and others have certainly helped drive additional traffic to the site.
Is that the kind of place too, like if they think an anchor store is coming in or out, do they come and talk to you about that, or is that within their corporate work that you find out like the rest of us?
Sometimes it goes a little bit of both ways. Sometimes we're on the front lines, and sometimes we're picking up the newspaper just like everyone else.
Gotcha. Well, and that's how it is with big corporations like that. So that's the mall. Let's go down south. I've traveled down Milwaukee to the south, and next to Lifetime Fitness is the old Forge Club. If you're new to town, that was kind of like a private supper club kind of a thing. It's been closed for a while, and it's kind of a narrow little parcel there. There's some additional space beside it, but we're just talking about the actual Forge Club space. And that's been in play now, and there's some proposals for that.
Yeah, there is a proposed development called The Forge. It would be a 70 units, 3-bedroom townhome community. It's gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission and has been tentatively reviewed by the village board in a committee of the whole meeting. Hasn't yet gone through for formal adoption by the village board, but we anticipate that coming up for a vote very soon.
Okay. And when we're talking townhomes, then that's not a huge spot there. And I've read some of the things going on about that. And again, traffic, is that something everybody's talking about? How to get the people in and out of there?
Certainly, traffic is a large concern. School population is also a large concern. School districts are certainly understandably concerned about the number of residential growth that has occurred, not just in Vernon Hills, but throughout the surrounding suburbs. And that obviously causes an increase in schools and school-age population.
Right. And when we think about it, too, we have always said our residential was sort of on the built-out space. There weren't a lot of more empty lots in Greg's. There weren't a lot of empty lots around, but now when putting these multifamily developments into these new spots and redeveloping, it's kind of a whole new ball game around town. It had slowed down, and now it's picking up again. So
that's 100% accurate. There's some sites such as the Forge that traditionally would not have been contemplated as residential development. In fact, in our comprehensive plan, that site is actually intended to be office research and development. However, a developer has come forward seeking interest in developing it for residential use, and so the village board has certainly taken that into consideration.
Interesting. Well, and then there's another spot when you go down Fairway Drive, where Fairway turns into Buffalo Grove Road, off 45. There's a parcel there that obviously is bigger than it looks from the corner, but there's a parcel there that it's been in discussion that turn that into residential as well, and I believe that's called Woodland Chase. Is that correct?
That's correct. That development, it's a 51 single-family home development. It's currently in unincorporated Lake County. However, as part of this development, we would be annexing it into the village voluntarily. And the homes there will be roughly around between 700,000 and 800,000.
Okay. So we're moving on there. There's no such thing as a $200,000 house around. That's why we've got the townhomes, I take it. So yeah. Okay, so that's Woodland Chase. And so how soon are we thinking something might happen? Or how far along in the process is that?
It's pretty far along in the process. I would anticipate them doing some site work this year and on to and through the winter.
Okay, interesting. So we'll have to watch that happen. Another piece, now some of this has to do with the park district, some of it has to do with the village, but the fact that our park district has done is working on an expansion of the Sullivan Center that would move a lot of their offices and things like that from the Lashen Center next door here to the Village Hall, from the Lashen Center over to the Sullivan Center, and then they were going to hand the Lashen Center back because that was one of those $1 you can have it. I guess they don't want to pay their dollar anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But can we talk a little bit about the Lashen Center, how it came to be to this point, and then if you have any information on what might happen going forward, because I know there's concerns with the mechanicals and the structure. It's kind of a weird old building. I mean, it was built as a supper club and a golf course clubhouse. It wasn't meant for all these things. So where are we at with Lashen Center?
So I've gotten a lot of calls about this item, and a lot of them expressed, questions and concerns about what the property could be turned into or how it'll be utilized in the future. The one thing I'd say is the village is still reviewing it in kind of a comprehensive way, seeing how we may be able to either utilize the Lashen Center or demolish it and utilize it for another use. Nothing's been decided yet. It's still very early on in the process. Right now, I think the main goal would be just to verify, what's happening with it in the short term, but then also looking long term. Perhaps that space is best for just a green site with some park benches or additional parking for the senior center at Village Hall. Those are all types of things that the village is looking into. Not only that, but also looking at where are the existing clubs and organizations who utilize the Lashen Center for meetings, where will they then go? And is that place somewhere within the village in terms of village-owned properties, either Village Hall, the police department, etc., or if another outside organization such as a park district or library district may be able to assist with meeting organizational needs.
Okay, and all that, I think, and did I see too that a little money was put aside for somebody even just to examine the building to see what kind of things were needed? I mean, way back when, it was before you were here, when the village was over there, that was the offices. I mean, it would flood and all kinds of things. So, I mean, you're looking at kind of a quirky building over there. So just that piece of the puzzle, I know you're going to need a big report on probably.
We actually have a good sense of where things are right now, and unfortunately, the cost to maintain the existing building looks counter to what the real needs are of the village or other entities. We are doing a space study for the existing buildings, not including the Lashen Center, but including Village Hall, Public Works, Police Department, just to verify if there's meeting areas within the existing buildings that could be utilized instead. Okay,
so that's something that, especially if you have an HOA or a Boy Scout troop or something like that, where you are looking for a meeting space, just stay tuned because you're aware and you're trying to figure out how to do it for the best of all. So, okay, that's good to know. We'll have to we'll keep everybody updated on that. So that's the Park District and the Lashen Center. Now let's talk about some fun stuff going on. We've been watching Yu's Mandarin Restaurant on Route 60. It used to be the Silk Mandarin and the Asian Silk. It looks like it's really close as we're talking at the end of September. And we've heard good things about it. They have other restaurants and other places, I believe. So have you heard when they might be open?
So we've heard a lot of excitement, and it's certainly been building for quite a while now. While we don't have a specific open date yet, we're certainly hopeful it'll be before the end of this year, and it's something that I know my staff has been working very hard with the property owner on to make sure that they can open their doors just as quickly as possible.
Yeah, they've done some extensive remodeling, so it'll be exciting to walk in there. McAllister's Deli is just a little bit further west. It's the old former Famous Dave's. They've been doing a lot of work, and we've heard good things about them, too. They're in a lot of the college towns and all around. Tell us about that.
So the McAllister's Deli is kind of very similar to like a Potbelly's or a Jason's Deli, and they are been moving very fast on the site. And so we're really hopeful that they can continue that momentum throughout the rest of this year. And I know they've indicated that they'd like to open this year as well, but certainly time will tell, but we're working hand in hand with them to get that done.
They do seem to be like popping along there. It's nice to see that. A couple other things we've talked about before. We've heard that at some point there might be a turn lane, so that as you're coming down Milwaukee, you can figure out how to get to Jason's Deli and on the border and those things over there that you almost have to be a local to figure out how to get to them. Is that turn lane still a possibility, or is that going to be part of the whole intersection improvement?
It is still a possibility. They had previously received IDOT approval for the work. However, it's to my knowledge, they've decided not to move forward with that at this time. However, I do believe that at some point in the future, they will pick that plan back up and move forward.
That like in Jason's Deli's, like the corporate ballpark for them to decide, do they have to pay for it?
And that should be the property owner of the site, but I don't believe it will involve Jason's Deli specifically.
So it's whoever, the actual management who owns the facility. Okay, that's good to know. Now, this is something you may or may not know. We have always heard these rumors that Walmart's leaving and it's going to go over down the street to Menards in the, I believe it's called the Oak Plaza, which is kind of sitting vacant right now. Is there any more word on that, or is that just kind of just sitting there like a lot of things do?
You know, unfortunately, we haven't heard much new. We're very thankful that Walmart has continued to maintain their presence within Vernon Hills. Ultimately, I do think, unfortunately, they probably will be moving to Mundelein at some point in the future. But for now, we're just happy they're here, and we'll continue to work with them to make sure they're successul.
Yeah, and since it's been going on for years, you know, a few more years with a Walmart, we'll have to watch that unfold. Anything else going on? Like I know that we're seeing a lot of things built out down at Port Clinton in the residential area that's connected to the town center. Is that going to be finishing up soon then?
We certainly hope so. I mean, previously, when the recession hit, there was about 27 townhomes that weren't constructed. And now, if you're driving by on 45, you'll see that a vast majority of them have been constructed, and some of them actually are receiving occupancy. So we're definitely happy that that's moving forward and looking forward to more of the site being developed in the future.
Is the hope that they're going to finish it off then, or do you think it'll get, okay, so the hope is that there won't be any piles of gravel, it'll be complete, so.
That's great, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of stuff we talked about, and stuff keeps moving. There's a lot of moving targets as things change. So if somebody wants to stay informed, I know you've got websites, and it's also good to watch all the board meetings, which are on the website. So.
They are. I mean, we have a great YouTube channel. Our cable coordinator does an excellent job making sure those get posted, and we're always thankful and appreciative to get that information out to the public.
Yeah. So people, if you want to know more, watch, because it's a day-to-day thing. A meeting can happen and something might change. So stay informed. Stay in contact with the village. If you want to know more, you do field a lot of calls. So you're here to do that, or you take an email. So.
That's really my job. I'm always happy to help and answer any questions residents or businesses may have.
Excellent. Thank you for the time. I know there's a lot going on. Remember, stay informed, ask questions, and we'll just come back and talk to you as soon as there's some more updates for everybody. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
We are at Countryside Fire Station number 1, the original Countryside Fire Station on Midlothian Road, with our friend Fireman Tony Rodkey. As you're watching this, it's October, which is Fire Prevention Month. And before we get going, let's remind everybody, if they're watching at the beginning, you've got October 9th is a big day.
That's our open house pancake breakfast, and this year's kickoff to Fire Prevention Week, which reminds us, don't wait. Check the date. Replace your smoke alarms every 10 years.
Okay, not just the batteries like we like you to do when you change the clock, the whole thing.
The whole smoke alarm. And if you have 3 levels, hopefully you have 1 on every level, you'd want to replace the 10-year-old smoke alarms.
Okay, write a date on it too so you know next time you go around.
That does help, and lots of manufacturers now are putting that date on there, kind of like a expiration.
Good idea. So 10 years, you want those things out. You want the batteries switched on if they're good to go. That's one of your things you're going to push for this year. And part of fire prevention has always been education. You're busy in the schools. You're giving classes around to the community.
Giving classes to the community, and today, coincidentally, we're going to be giving a class to local realtors on fire sprinklers.
Well, let's talk about this. We're in front, you're going to see more as we go, but we're in front of kind of a unique setup. Can you tell us what's going to happen here today?
Yes, this is a side-by-side unit that we're going to have one fire that shows no fire sprinklers and what the consequences are, and then the other side here is sprinkled, fire sprinklers in there, and shows the benefit to fire sprinklers in the home.
So today, I know this seminar you're having today for the realtors, it's a FEMA grant because it is important for realtors to understand what they're selling. But can we tell people out here, the viewers at home, if you're buying a house or remodeling a house or looking for a house, it's getting more and more common for communities to require residential places to have sprinkler systems.
It is getting more common, and in fact, Vernon Hills has adopted that ordinance. So, any new home being built in Vernon Hills will have fire sprinklers, which is a benefit to the homeowner.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the benefit, because I know we've seen them in commercial buildings for years, and frankly, I think there's a lot of myths out there, but we worry, is that what it's going to look like in my home? So can we talk about the benefits and dispel some of the myths so that people kind of get on board with it?
The benefit is it's going to help save lives and protect your property. And buildings with fire sprinklers, there hasn't been fire deaths with working sprinklers and working smoke alarm. Key word, working. Other benefits is it's going to put water on the fire immediately. The fire sprinkler is rated for 155 degrees Fahrenheit. What you're going to see doesn't take much more than a few pieces of newspaper and no more material than your t-shirt. It reaches 155 degrees. The fire sprinkler is going to activate, start spraying water, keep the fire in check, allow you to escape, and most likely extinguish the fire as well. The myths are, oh, all the fire sprinklers are going to go off in the house. Again, that is a myth. Only the ones that are heat activated. Also, fire sprinklers put out about 15 gallons of water. Now imagine 3 5-gallon buckets tipped over in your bedroom. That's a mess. We come in 10 minutes into a fire and you're going to see the damage that's caused after about 10 minutes. We're putting 250 gallons of water on a fire a minute. That's like 50 buckets of water. That's not a mess. That's a catastrophe.
And it's in every room by then because it has spread instead of been contained in the one place where the sprinklers have it.
Well, it can spread, and that's why we teach folks to close their doors when they exit. You leave a door open, that does spread the fire.
Okay, so that's something good to know. So if I had a house, sprinkle it or not, if I'm leaving the place where it is because I got to get out, you shut the doors as much as you can just to try to keep it contained.
We're always teaching with your exit plan, close the doors on your way out, get to your meeting place, call 911 in the event of a fire.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about one more thing about sprinkler systems, because we've seen those in, commercial establishments, like the little daisy wheels up on the roof. Is that what it looks like in a home?
No, actually, there's nice decorative covers. The paint can match as well. We don't want somebody that says, oh, they're ugly. Well, guess what? They're inserted into the ceiling. Those covers heat up, they fall out of the way, and that's what activates the sprinkler. So they're decorative covers. Don't even notice they're there.
And I've heard of people who, like, not just on a remodel, like when they do something major, but I've heard people retrofit their house because they feel so strongly about it once they've had a situation.
You can definitely retro your house. That's going to be a little bit more expensive than building it into a new home.
But it's a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
So that's information about sprinklers. It's kind of new information as far as when it comes to residents. So that's something we're going to learn about and we're going to see here as we go. Something else, because as we're talking about fire safety, let's give a couple more tips, because you mentioned having an exit plan. Can you remind people what you mean by have an exit plan?
Well, Edith, exit drills in the home. We want you, and we teach the children in schools to create a fire escape plan so you know what to do and where to go in the event of a fire. Your job is to get out when you hear the smoke alarm go off, get to your meeting place, typically somewhere out in front of the house that's designated by the family, call 911. You don't have a plan, there's more chaos, people are unsure what to do. By having that plan, practicing it, as we do in the schools, we're much more prepared.
We used to do that when the kids were little. We'd even teach them how to get out, like, of windows and things like that, because it was fun, but it was important too because we wanted to have more than one way to get out of a lot of places.
We do stress understanding how to open your window, but really having a working smoke alarm is typically going to allow you the warning, give you the time to literally stand up, walk out the door, close the door, and get to your meeting place.
Go to the meeting place. So it is important to have that meeting place. And as you say, not just when you have a big emergency. It's obvious that's a time to call 911 and you guys respond as quickly as possible. But I know you guys want to impress on people. When is it appropriate to call 911?
When in doubt, call 911. With a fire, you want to get out first, call 911.
But again, if you have like a situation, whether it's, an injury or something and you don't know what to do.
When in doubt, call 911. Call it out.
And if you guys want more information about this, if you want to talk to Tony or the fire inspectors to learn more about this, they're at the station. You can give them an email, look online. You got a lot of information online too. So
Absolutely, and you should see that reminder Sunday, October 9th, 8 a.m. till noon, our open house and annual pancake breakfast. Come have some pancakes with me.
good idea. The whole community loves it. So thanks very much, and thanks for all you guys do.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Kim Christensen with the Vernon Hills Police Department's Crime Prevention Unit.
And I'm Commander Jim Levicki.
It's that time again. This is the October show of the Vernon Hills Update, and it's time for us to bring you those Halloween safety tips. First off, let's cover this first. Halloween in Vernon Hills is celebrated on the day itself. That's Monday, October 31st, and the official trick-or-treat hours in Vernon Hills are from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, Monday, October 31st, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Before we get into the tips for the children, let's cover some things that you as parents need to know too. First off, parents, please accompany the very young children while they're out trick-or-treating. When you're thinking about what costumes your child should wear, think about wearing light-colored, non-flammable costumes that should be worn, and a flashlight should always be carried if the children are out after dark. When you're planning the costume, please keep in mind that long costumes and high-heeled shoes might be unsafe when crossing streets and climbing stairs and front porches. Also, think about using makeup instead of a mask. It's so easy for a mask to obstruct vision.
Now, parents, we have some tips for you to share with your children. First off, please make sure they're courteous to each and every one they encounter on Halloween night. Instruct your child not to accept rides from strangers or older children not known to them or you. Instruct your children not to enter any homes unless it's one of your relatives or a known friend. Tell your child to stay on the sidewalk as much as possible and to confine their trick-or-treating to their own immediate neighborhood. Walk, don't run from house to house. Children should always watch for traffic. Most important, urge your children to wait until they return home before eating any of their treats. Check the contents thoroughly to make sure that nothing has been tampered with, and throw away any unwrapped candy or fruit. And always remember, when in doubt, throw it out.
Now, drivers, Halloween is an extra special time when you should pay special attention to the rules of the road. Watch out for children, obey stop signs, yield signs, speed limits, all those things. Do we even have to mention the cell phone law? Unless it's an exception as spelled out by Illinois law, such as hands-free use, please do not use your cell phone and do not text while driving.
Now, parents, we have a few tips for you if you're at home and you're going to be passing out candy to children as well. Parents, please do not invite children into your home, and make sure that your porch light and or driveway lights are both on as well.
We would like to thank the management and everyone over at Halloween City in Vernon Hills on Route 21 in the Marketplace Shopping Center for their cooperation and assistance in the filming of this Halloween safety segment. We hope that you found these Halloween safety tips to be helpful and beneficial. And don't forget, trick-or-treat hours in Vernon Hills, the official Vernon Hills trick-or-treat hours are on Monday, October 31st from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. On behalf of Chief Mark Fleischauer and everybody at the Vernon Hills Police Department, we want to wish you a happy and safe Halloween. See you next time.
in the mix, in the monitors, myself and Jeremy, if you don't mind. Thank you. Yeah, both of us up just a bit.
What I like about you, you hold me tight. Never wanna let you go. No, you make me feel alright. Yeah. You're whispering in my ear. Tell me all the things that I wanna hear. 'Cause that's what I like about you. That's what I like about you. What I like about you. What I like about you. You really know how to dance. When you go up, down, jump around, think about true romance. Yeah. You're whispering in my ear. Tell me all the things that I wanna hear. 'Cause that's what I like about you. That's what I like about you. What I like about you. That's what I like about you. What I like about you. That's what I like about you. What I like about you. What I like about you, you keep me warm at night. Tell me I'm the only one. No, you make me feel alright. Yeah. You're whispering in my ear. Tell me all the things that I wanna hear. 'Cause that's what I like about. That's what I like about you. What I like about. That's what I like about you. What I like about. That's what I like about you. What I like about you. What I like. That's what I like. What I like. That's what I like. What I like. That's what I like. What I like about you. Hey! Uh-huh. Hey! 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 Uh-huh. Hey! Uh-huh. Hey!
Well, that wraps up this edition of the Vernon Hills Update. If you have comments or suggestions, please contact Mike Storto at 847-918-3560 or email mikes@vhills.org. Thank you for tuning in to the Vernon Hills Update.